Hi everybody. Well, this here is a 14-inch electric chainsaw, and it's from Harbor Freight, so it's Portland brand. And we're going to go over real quick some information about the chain. So this is number 91 Oregon chain, and we're going to take this apart real quick. It's actually really simple. This is one of the easiest chainsaws to work on because there's no gas engine, so it's just an electric motor. But this one bolt right here is a 13 millimeter. Let's just take the nut off, take the cover off, and the only thing about this cover is there's a little plastic tab in the back, so when you go to put the cover on, you want to make sure that tab goes inside the hole and then fits over the bolt. So just keep that in mind. The chain itself and the bar, actually also very simple. But what you do want to make sure of when you're working with this kind of chain is that you put it on in the right direction. So this is, like most chainsaws, this is directional. And you can see here that there's actually a small picture of the way that the chain is supposed to go on. So let me just back this up a little bit. And we're talking about right there on the cutting head. So you can see the shape here matches the shape of the cutter, so that's the way you want to do it. If you put it on backwards, just lace this up real quick. So this is the chain on backwards. You see that the cutting head is actually facing in reverse and does not match the picture. So as the chain rotates on the bar, it moves in this direction. So if you were trying to cut, you'd actually be using the back of the cutter. So you want to make sure you always put these on in the right direction, because the guy that had this actually had it laced up the wrong way, and the chain was running in reverse. Wasn't doing a very good job of cutting wood at all. So anyway, that's the way that it goes on. As far as inside here goes, it's also really simple. This is the gear that drives the chain from the motor. So really, kind of self-explanatory. It's got a couple of little holes where the bottom of the chain tooth rides in, and that's what drives it. And then this piece here does a couple things. This Allen bolt here is actually what puts tension on the bar. So this will tension up your chain, and in order for the tensioner to operate, you have to first loosen this nut. So the nut tightens down the bar, so you have to just crack it loose, adjust it with an Allen wrench, and then tighten it back down, which I'll show you in a bit. But also right here, this top oval slot, that's where the oiler is. So as the chainsaw is running, when you're pulling the trigger and the motor's turning, the whole chainsaw is vibrating. And so what happens is oil from this reservoir makes its way through a tube and comes out of this tiny hole here and actually comes into this hole, or if the bar was flipped upside down, it would be that hole. It goes into this hole on the bar. And then in the track of the bar, any oil that gets in that hole goes up into the track, and then that's how the chain gets lubricated, just simply by the oil vibrating, coming out that hole, going in this hole, getting into the track, and then lubes the chain. So it's basically a waste oil system, like all chainsaws have been for forever, basically. So it's really kind of simple. You just want to make sure you keep this clean. You can either do it like paper towels and try to keep it clean yourself manually, or the best way to do it is with an airline to blow all your wood chips and dust and dirt. And make sure you keep the slider clean for your adjuster. Make sure you keep the gear drive from the motor clean, and especially that oil hole, because if this doesn't get oil, if the chain doesn't get any oil, eventually it's going to lock up on you. So I want to make sure you do that. So now that we have it apart, I'll show you how to put it together real quick. On the bar itself, the only thing you really have to worry about is up at the far end. There's actually a little wheel in here that guides the chain. So when you put this on, you want to make sure that the chain is facing in the right direction, and put the teeth inside that little wheel, line up the chain in the bar guides like that. And now that's basically ready to be installed on the saw. So I'm going to kind of hold it like this so it stays together. And then we'll put this on. So what I like to do is first, just kind of get it over the bolt so it's ready to go, and then I'll fit the chain onto the motor gear. And once I get that, I'll sort of pre-tension it by hand, kind of holding it and line it together. And then since this saw is so simple, you only have that one slack adjuster there. You just want to get that lined up and then sort of wiggle the bar down into this little guide piece. Because once that's on there, the bar is pretty much going to stay right in that position. So then that's going to hold everything for you while you put this cover on. Which is also an integral part of the oiling system and keeping the chain tight. So as long as everything stays still, you're cool. We'll put in the tab first, bring that down over the bolt, put the nut on, and since we still have to adjust tension, there's really no need to crank down on this, If you crank down on it, now the adjuster won't work. So basically I like to put it together, back off a little bit, so now I have some movement of the bar, maybe a little bit more. Now I got some movement on the bar, and now I can do my adjustment. So this is something that I just do by feel, but you basically, pull the chain down. I usually do it on the bottom and see how much slack you have. So for me, this is too much slack. I don't like the chain being able to pull down this far, especially because as the saw runs and warms up, you're going to get slack in the chain as it heats up. So I like to keep it a little bit tighter. So I'm going to take my Allen wrench, give a small turn, see how tight it is, go back in, turn it again, and you can see it's tightening up. So that's right there is about where I like to have it. And when I get it there, snug down on the nut, not too tight, because you'll find that as you operate the saw, the chain is going to loosen up, and you're going to want to tighten this to make up for the slack as the chain gets warm. Actually, now that I tightened it, this feels like it's a little bit too tight. Don't do this with bare hands. You don't want to slip and get cut. So I'm going to back this off just a little bit. Got to wiggle things to give it some slack. That's a little bit better. Something that you do by feel, get used to it after a while, and now that feels okay. Let's clean it up real quick. There we go. We'll check that, make sure. Yep, that's snug. So, other than that, with an electric chainsaw, all you gotta do is make sure that you have oil in it. That's like one of the number one things people don't do. That, and when you use a chainsaw, never let this touch the dirt. Because you have this thing running, chain's moving pretty fast. As soon as this hits dirt, almost instantly, you wipe out all your teeth. You have to go out and get yourself a chainsaw file and file the teeth down to make them sharp again, or go buy a new chain. And especially once you get dirt inside there, then it clogs up your track, gets inside your gear drive, clogs your oil, really messes things up. So that's basically it. Well, if you have any questions or any comments, post them below. And thanks for watching. And if you like my videos, please subscribe.